There is a team of concept developers, um, um, and the whole concept of connecting seeds with spud was part of that strategy of developing these kind of interlocked ways of connecting customers with food in general. But I think the most important thing about InstaFarm is that the idea of it is really to create liquidity for the farmers, diversification for the farmers, and in exchange, to use seeds as the way that farmers receive compensation for their acquisition. So not using cash, but actually the acquiring entity would be seeds itself. Now, all of this is just on a few pieces of paper and in my head. We do not have a structure for doing it. The idea I had was to organize a SPAC in Toronto. I think this entity would be better served not in the US, because part of the vision is, using the seeds currency to, in a sense, acquire these farms. So the acquisition strategy would be very similar to the one used by Whole Foods when they use their stock to acquire health food stores. We would use seeds to acquire farms. And the farmers wouldn't sell, let's say, 100% of the farm. They'd sell 25 or 30% of the farm. But in exchange, seeds are used in the transaction of that farm and with their customers. So we build kind of a win-win strategy here. So that's
yeah, and what you're buying is not the physical farm. You're buying 30% of the cash flow, whatever.
Right.
And then it's like a cooperative, and the idea further is to promote organic, local food delivered locally. So we were going to eventually partner up with spud.ca. That's the largest organic food delivery company in Canada. And you can look them up separately. But that was as far as the development thinking got. But he does have a team of people that actually could implement something like that if it came to the point of proceeding. What he didn't know is the seed side. How do you integrate seeds in something of this magnitude? He has no idea how to do that. And that's why he wanted a conversation with you.
And quite frankly, I would love to do this through seeds, because I think if seeds embraces the concept from the beginning, they'll invent the right strategy for how the seeds are used in the whole process.
What would the SPAC do with the fundraising money?
Well, I don't think you need a lot of money. I think you could actually, and this is my other idea, is that you don't raise money with the SPAC, you raise seeds.
Well, you raise money and buy seeds? Is that what you mean?
Raise money and buy seeds, exactly.
So this is a special purpose acquisition corporation.
Right.
Yeah.
I read that overview that you sent, Artemis, and they said on the Canadian Stock Exchange, I think it had to be $30 million fund minimum to be listed. So you would raise $30 million and you would have this special purpose acquisition company, and then you get to use that money for an authorized venture over the next 3 years. And you're saying that this company would actually be in the business of well, first it would acquire seeds, but it would use those seeds for the business purpose of rolling up a cooperative of organic local delivery services and facilities for farmers. So farmers are part of an aggregate cooperative, and it reduces risk of the individual farm. And then the farmer has seeds which circulate in their local economy, this is it all then flows into the whole purpose of seeds at the same time.
Right. It accelerates, like the spud conversation. It accelerates seeds into, the actual partnership with farms and farmers.
And if we have the quick instant exchange feature that we're talking with Trestle about adding to the seeds passport, then farmers that needed to use the seeds to quickly convert to fiat could do it.
Right. Right.
Well, that's kind of where it's at, right? That's sort of the gist of what it looks like at this moment in time. I have met some of the other team members. They're capable of doing this. The question is, no one understands how seeds could be built into something like this, if you even thought that was a good idea or not. So that's why they wanted to have this conversation.
Sure. I have a whole list of questions, but maybe we could start off if you had any questions. So if you're having questions around how seeds can get built into it or anything like that, then great. Maybe we can kick it off first there.
Well, I'll ask that question. So given what you've heard, how would, in your view, seeds be part of that process?
Sure. Okay, so we have 3 different things that we've been working on for the last couple of years. One's called Local Scale, and it's a marketplace for everything, but they're taking a hard focus on farmers and setting up basically a market stand in local scale. So that technology, the alpha for it's already built. So we'd have the marketplace for facilitating it, and everyone already in local scale can make their payments in seeds. What's nice there is there's no payment processing fees or any of that. You guys already get all that. So the technology for that exists. There's also Light Food, which is an app version, and it's in its beta stage. It's not quite there yet, but they've been working on that for the last couple of years, and they've been trialing it here in Bali, and with good success. One of my friends is buying all his food on it already. And then we have Haifa for the cooperative side. In the last few years, also we've been working with, and we have a signed agreement now with the Agricultural Ministry of Peru to set up farmer cooperatives with, cacao and coffee in 6 different regions in Peru. And they want to do it all through Haifa, where they can govern, make decisions, distribute value, and do all that stuff. So that's something that we've been working on, and I think it can fit right into this whole concept, where we can take this same InstaFarm, bring that to Peru. So yeah, we're working with those cooperatives, but we can also roll that out to everyone local, and they can set up their marketplaces and all of that. We also have another agreement that I sent to you, and it's just with cooperatives, and they also want to use this tool and get it out. So these are just different major partnerships that we can use to start getting this tool set out when it's ready. What I think for the SPAC, I love the concept. Local scale is wanting to scale. So far, it's just been one guy who's a genius. He did all the integrations for PayPal and Venmo and Airbnb. So he's got a company in Silicon Valley doing all that stuff. He spun out of that because he wants to take care of our climate crisis and regenerate our planet. So he started Local Scale. He's kind of coding it out all himself, but now he's raising funds to be able to bring more team members on, and that team and his expertise would be able to build all the technology we need for InstaFarm, that concept we're ideating here. So what could the SPAC do? The SPAC, I think, could invest in Local Scale. Potentially Haifa. I don't necessarily even know if that's needed, but maybe it invests in Haifa to do the agricultural side. But I think the major thing is providing liquidity. So if we're purchasing farmers with seeds, then they can come back to the SPAC and sell their seeds. So the SPAC is then buying seeds for cash, giving them cash if they need it, and then investing in seeds. So I think those would be the main reasons for having that that special investment vehicle. And then I think after that point, it's pretty simple. The SPAC keeps raising money, investing in the technology. So it owns the tech, it's owning the payment infrastructure that's underlying all of it. And as both of those things get more adoption, so the SPAC gets more equity in that. Yeah, I mean, that's the basic model. Yeah, I was wondering if InstaFarm was much further along, because then I was going to have to weave into what is currently existing, but it's still the concept stage is great. So then my other question would be, you know, who's the team behind this? Is there, okay, actually, I'll do it one at a time. What's the relationship with Spud? Is that already a partnership formed? Do we have deep connection? Is it a concept? Like, where are we at with that? And should we bring him in at this stage?
Well, that's a good question. We did have a very exciting meeting with them about 3 weeks ago, and it was just before the IPO. They've been pretty busy. We have not received the response, right, Mark, from our letter?
No, not yet. Not that I know of.
Yep. So, you know, we got them excited about seeds, but we didn't. We haven't closed that deal yet. We haven't. I don't even know if we figured out what the deal is. But the CEO, Peter Van Strock, was very excited about seeds and couldn't believe it. I think going back to InstaFarm, I mean, I think of it as, you know, as you said, I mean, it's an IPO for seeds in a sense. And I think it's a way of putting seeds on the map where the money, the cash that goes in is buying seeds, just the way I bought seeds. Or did I buy seeds, Mark, or what did I do?
You bought 250,000 seeds in your account, and then you were going to keep doing that each week and doing it for your kids and things like that. Right.
So 250,000. So, you know, I think of it as a socially responsible IPO of seeds, where seeds has, you know, $30 million of capital to buy seeds. But also, as you said, it could invest in Haifa. There's a lot of things to do once you get to that place. And the beautiful thing is, it's owned by seeds. So it's already a democratic institution. So the shareholders become like members of the co-op themselves, which I think is very exciting. And I think the farmers, once they get what seeds are going to want to sell their whole farm to seeds, because it not just gives them diversification, but it gives them kind of profound liquidity in a way that they don't have today.
What I love about that's like they might sell their farm, but then they become stewards of it. So they get the liquidity and they still keep their farm.
Exactly.
Keep going.
No, that's exactly brilliantly said. And that's exactly right, is that they get their control, but they also get their freedom. And now they're not alone anymore. They have a connection of all the farmers that are in the network that can coach them and support them. Like Mark is a farmer in North Carolina. Well, there are probably 1,000 seed farms that Mark could then network with over time to learn about, okay, what are the best seeds for this plant? Or what are the best, and we can even do banking of seeds. And of course, the ultimate power of this will be in the farmer's asset. The farm becomes, over time, the bank of the seeds, whether it's the soil, the wind, the rain, the volunteerism of the farm, all that gets captured in that relationship.
Hold on, I'm taking a note. So would it be fair to then surmise the main focus of InstaFarm as being more of a global regenerative farmer cooperative?
Yes.
Cool. Absolutely in love with that. And then we have the SPAC is also more of a seeds ETF. but it's more of a seeds and regenerative farming and infrastructure ETF.
Right.
So-
It's supposed to be a jump start. It allows you to get this going and get a lot of investors in seeds in one public moment, you know. You know, the road show of that, I can just imagine would be just extraordinary, you know. And of course, we're buying seeds, literally. So one of the first things we could use with that money is to create a universal seed bank, non-GMO, local produced seeds for all the farmers, kind of open source. So you could even start with not just the metaphor of seeds, but the actual thing that farmers need the most is good seeds.
Ooh, I love this. And now probably for my most important question, who is the team and how dedicated are they? Because I'm super excited about this. I think this is the main focus. I'd be willing to put in, 30, 40% of my time. There's a couple of the threads I have to hold on to keep HIPAA and seeds flowing in a good direction, but I think this is something incredibly valuable. So I'm wondering, like, who's the team? How much time do we have, and how quick is everyone wanting to move? Because this is a high priority for me.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm proposing that we be the team, the four of us, and there'd be one other person named Joe Steig, who's been my long-term best friend and has articulated a lot of this. But I'm proposing very much that this is developed within seeds, and that we support that process, both with your excitement and enthusiasm, and also, every time we've talked about this with a person in this space, they're very inspired by what could really happen. I mean, the thing about capitalism that's so interesting is that so many things become more efficient with capitalism, but farmers are the oxymoron. Farmers are naturally independent and don't want to cooperate, and so they're not more efficient. So we have an opportunity to help them become more efficient without taking their soul away, without taking their land away, without forcing them to be a buyer or seller of their asset to survive. And that's really the exciting thing for me, is that every farm then that we are part of is always a farm. It can never be sold for development or real estate project. It's always a farm. And now with the Spud thing, and this is as I hope, the Spud thing is a very loose conversation because we just presented it. But my vision is that every farm that we acquire develops a Spud type distribution system of their food. And so that we bring Spud to everywhere we go. They're in one country in Canada. They're about 300 million in sales now. But every time we acquire a farm, we create an online delivery service from our farm to customers. And that raises our gross margin, and that gives us more visibility. And instead of transporting your food 400, 500 miles away, you can sell your food within a 1 mile radius. And that's really what we also look for, is how to make farming more local. And local is not just a metaphor. Like in Havana, Cuba, after the Soviets left, there are 500 organic farms in the city of Havana now, because there was a need for local food. And they did it, So that's the other thing, is I think if you create a system where farmers are easily financed, they're going to be everywhere. And it's not just farmers, like the farmer in the technical sense, but it's anyone who has excess food into a system that they want to contribute, and then they get credits back for that.
Okay, well, I'm in love, and I think this is a really beautiful model. I'm happy to collect all of these thoughts and put together a little bit of a pitch deck from things we've been thinking about on the local food side. Going
Perfect.
a little bit further, you know, again, how Seed started was it was called Light Food at the very beginning of all this, and we were focused more on the app. And some really awesome things on the app side that we think are great is, you know, you're ordering your food from this app and we're tracking all the nutrition counts. So
Right.
you can automatically say what's all the food that you're getting in your diet, and then people are getting a big map of all the nutrition they got. So it creates this stickiness because now they want to keep using the app, because if they use the app for every one of their meals, they have a complete profile of everything they ate, rather than having to manually put in anything. So that's just like on the app and the user interface front where I think we can get really interesting. I haven't seen that anywhere. I don't see Spud necessarily doing this. This is like the direct to person, you know, app
Right.
for your local food directly to you, opposed to a Uber Eats or something like that.
Mhm.
And what's great is Uber Eats takes a 30% margin. Restaurants' margins are typically around that or even less. Some restaurants are even losing money using Uber Eats, but they're justifying it as a form of marketing. I mean, the market is so massive to be disrupted and turned into a much more regenerative system. So anyway, my other question then is the SPAC and InstaFarm two different vehicles, or are they the same? Is the SPAC called InstaFarm? And it's
Well, I would lose the name Instafarm and just say Seeds.
okay.
Because I think what we want to market is not Instafarm. That's just the old name we had. It's really about seeds. So if you are open to that, I think that's the real winner here, is that this is about seeds going public and doing it in a way that is integrity to the seeds process. The SPAC is not, it's just an idea that I had. I'm not wedded to it per se, but when I've heard Mark and Stephen talk about where seeds is going, you know, it's growing 3% a week. And I just think getting $30 million of co-investors into seeds in one moment would blow the minds of the farming community if they saw this as a real currency for their work, you know, like Spud did. I think that would be extraordinary. And I think your team has the bandwidth and the credibility to be the team that does this. Hold on, my daughter's calling me from, hold on, just 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
So while he's gone a minute, Reiki, Joseph Stagg is the direct connection we have with the CEO of Spud. And if we decided to try to continue with those conversations,
Hi, sorry about that.
we probably could. But he's
So I think the SPAC thing is very much an inspiration from what Spud did. And I think the visibility it would give to seeds would be extraordinary. But seeds may not want that. You know, I understand that, you know, this is a community. But the seeds members, 4,000 members, might love to double down and invite their friends to invite. I mean, it could just be kind of a portal that brings more cash flow and ability for seeds to do these acquisitions.
Artemis.
And the acquisitions are not just about farms. As you said, they could be farmers markets. They could be food hubs. There's so many places to go here, you know.
Artemis.
Yeah.
Hi, can you see that I'm on the call?
I can't, but now there you are. Hello.
I just wanted to clarify that you mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you see seeds as the vehicle by which to implement your ideas. There are technologies that exist now that can make this happen, actually, which I would love to talk about that at some point. Maybe not now, I'm not sure. But
Well, jump in with your thoughts about how we think how you think we could manifest this.
right. So Reiki, I don't believe you've seen the list of technologies that offer components that could actualize some of these ideas. I think Vendor is one. New England Local, which is a geospatial mapping technology that identifies where people are growing local produce or creating locally produced products, and then it gamifies buying from your next door neighbor. You get points for buying next door. And then Trestle, Benjamin's Technology, and Seeds. I believe that was the list. Was there anything else? I can pull up the document.
You had civics.
Oh, Civic Explorer. Yeah. Yeah. So that's have you checked that out?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's I'll pull
Uh-oh.
it up.
That's the first time I ever heard you say that, Mark.
Yeah, to quickly respond to that, absolutely. And what I'm currently seeing, and all of this can change as we co-create it, is that we do have a separate vehicle that is the SPAC, and that's investing or collaborating, cooperating, plugging in together all of these. So we would go to Spud, we would go to New England
Right.
Local, Vendor, all of them, and we bring seeds to them and expand into their networks and try to plug everyone together. And then
Right.
everyone can start collaborating a little bit more. So yes, we can also use local scale and light food and all these other things, but I think we do all of it. And we're just a representative as an index fund, essentially, of regenerative local food projects. So that when we're on the exchange and people want to invest into something, they're like, wow, that's having amazing returns. What are they doing? They're setting up local food networks across the globe and creating a global cooperative of farmers. Like, yeah, that's fantastic. Like, let's put our cash into that.
So
that's what
Artemis,
this SPAC
who
makes.
are the investors? Who are the initial investors into this SPAC?
You mean like the founders, or who are down the road?
Where's the 30 million capital come from for the SPAC?
Socially responsible investors worldwide. But I would say that the SPACs, once you get the right investment banker, it's kind of venture capital at a public stage. So we'll get the investors from that community, but we're going to market it within all the socially responsible investment vehicles.
Is this 90 days to launch or 9 months to launch? What's the time frame to do this in Canada?
Oh, I think it's probably a year to launch.
Yeah,
Or long.
yeah, it's a year. You can't even get into Canada right now. They've totally locked up their border.
But
I
the same,
I
the
tried to
same,
in there. You
Yeah.
can't do.
Do the investors in the SPAC, are you imagining that the investors in the SPAC are early stage investors that are looking for early stage returns as venture capitalists are? Or do you imagine that they are utility kind of investors that are looking to support something and that they're not return driven? Which one?
I would say the first. But
So
I think it's a moderation of the two. I think it's
from that,
yeah, go ahead.
well, from that perspective, this SPAC would want to start acquiring seeds at an early rate prior to them being stable, so that then they have a collection of seeds to start implementing some of these projects.
Exactly. I agree with that.
So that means if it's a year to fundraising, then they would miss that phase.
Well, maybe it's not a year, but I mean, as soon as we pull this together, it could be as soon as 6 months. But it is there is a lot of development, putting the offering together and all that stuff. And we don't have
there's all the legal side of it if it's being done as an offering that in the DeFi space, in the new crypto space, all of that stuff is kind of off to the side. You get to avoid all of that.
Right. And you guys, my daughter's calling me one more time. Hold on.
So Reiki said, and Mark and I were on the crypto, the Catalyst 2030 presentation. Sid did a marvelous.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Fast calls.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit more from Sid. You brought all that up, and I'd just like to kind of get your wisdom of what you're holding here, because it sounds like you've been part of this thought process and journey for a while.
Well, I also just wanted to highlight what Mark just mentioned, Artemis. I wanted to make sure that you heard that point, that when you build these things on crypto, you avoid a lot of the legal, time-consuming rigmarole, whatever word you want to use. So I don't, did you finish that note, Mark? Did you want to expand
Yeah,
upon that?
the way that the way that the DeFi space is disrupting venture capitalists and disrupting the traditional financial space is changing and happening very, very quickly. And that's part of the area that Haifa and is looking at how to deploy seeds in what we're calling the regenerative financial space, and what are the right pathways that can make sense so that we can benefit from the available capital that's flowing very quickly into that space.
Well, I just think as even if it doesn't work, if we explore this idea as a SPAC and talk to this wonderful investment banking firm that took Spud public about how this is the way that Spud becomes a worldwide company. Spud Canada, but once they start using seeds, it becomes a worldwide company. And I think that play of reaching out to the investment banking firm and sharing seeds and concept for them, I think would blow their minds, quite frankly. And they're a socially responsible kind of investment banking firm in Canada doing these kind of deals, and they just did Spud, so they're gonna love this, in my view. I don't know them, but that's my fantasy, let's say.
All right. Well, can I share my screen?
Mm-hmm.
I need permissions.
Yep. And you've got it.
Thank you. So here's Civil Explorer. Move this over. And Khalil Kavalas, I'm going to mess up his last name, Khalil. He's heavily invested in Civil Explorer. He builds worlds that incentivize people to learn, to grow, to do things in VR. And he also built New England Local, which he actually just took off the internet because he wanted to invest more in Civil Explorer, but he needs a team. So I was thinking that he could introduce New England Local to Seeds and just try to recruit support, which again is the geospatial mapping technology that identifies where people are growing locally, producing local products, and it gamifies and incentivizes people to buy from their next door neighbor. It's 50 points if you buy from someone right next door, up to 0 for 50 miles away. And he's very interested in using seeds as well, like all in. He doesn't even care about cash. So that's pretty exciting. And then there's Vendor, which I heard was the Etsy for local farmers. So that seems pretty much up our alley. And then, of course, Trestle, being able to swap your seeds for fiat, and seeds being the mechanism by which we bring all the players together. And then Sybil Explorer is just like seeing it, seeing the world that we're dreaming up in our mind. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, I was inspired, Reiki, with your comment that you had already set up part of this as an exchange for farmers market. So I think we should look at also building on what you've already done and looking at how do we create the power of and the scale of acquisition. The thing that I liked so much about Spud was that they had figured out the distribution model at the level that they were. But I think what you were talking about is more in keeping with what I'm excited about, which is that, you know, we have a currency to do these transactions now. It's not like we have to even invent it. It's like we're done. We just have to market and make partnerships around the use of seeds so it becomes ubiquitous.
And that's his seed's name, right? Ubiquitous 33.
Really?
You don't remember?
No.
Artemis has all of us do his seeds wallet transactions for him. It's fine. It's great.
Who's ubiquitous 33? Artemis was Artie. Art, my.
Who's ubiquitous? Who did I sign up who's ubiquitous? I can't remember. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
So what if I could collapse the wavelength here from the infinite possibilities of exploring into just a few steps that we can take together and get some alignment here. So how I'm seeing it is we create a new do or a new organization decentralized currently that may eventually run or be a SPAC, depending on how we want to launch that. So we can propose it as the index fund for regenerative food systems. So that's the container for all of this. So step one is we could start investing into existing technology and start bringing them all together. So what's already out there working, let's invest into them, co-own a part of them, and then get the adoption going. We start acquiring seeds now. So it's providing current liquidity to the ecosystem, but also providing a holding of seeds for the future SPAC. Because this, anyway, you get it? And then we start investing directly into farmers. I think this is a little bit later down the stage, maybe after we launch this back and raise some funds, or maybe we start trialing it out before, where we buy up 10% of their farm and we give them stewardship over that percentage that we buy. And then we have some conditions to this purchase that they use some of the liquidity that they get to convert their farms to regenerative agriculture. So we give them the technology and resources to make that shift happen. And then 4 is we're creating any new technology that might be needed, i.e. the cooperative do that we're launching in Peru. So we can focus on getting that actually launched, getting it in the hand of gardeners and farmers down there, and start building out the farmer cooperative tool. Because I think that actually comes before step 3, because that tool needs to be built in order to bring the farmers in. So I probably put those backwards. Yeah, that's currently how I see it. And I'm wondering what you guys think about that.
Well,
I agree.
I
I wanted to say that I put a link in the chat to one that Artemis I think is friends with, Dirt Capital Partners, and you can see they're a mature investment partnership that partners with various farms and provides capital and infrastructure growth and financing towards the goal of conservation land trusts and other kinds of things. This was a model that Artemis thought that might be how we build relationships with various farms.
I think the final immediate piece for me is that the SPAC is a 1-year runway. I think that would be great to have yesterday. I think it's incredibly exciting, but we'll certainly be ready as an ecosystem within a year from now for that sort of announcement and energy. So if it is a 1-year runway, how do we start that now? And what do we need? I think that's probably if we're going to zero in on one thing to focus on in the next short period, I think that might be the highest leverage place.
Yeah, that was my question too. And I know Artemis is somebody that's really engaged in wanting to start this as soon as possible. And I think we have the right team members, both and one Joseph that should be on this team, but there's other people that are peripheral to our discussion group that we could bring in and look at creating this SPAC earlier than we're talking about right now. And I'll have conversations. We can all conversations with Artemis around that issue. But I agree with you, Reiki, that we should start this right away because it, as you say, we should start investing in seeds right away and build up the account so that we are ready when the time comes to really go for a public launch of some kind. But yeah, what maybe you could put your thoughts of what you're just describing here and these steps in a sort of an original first draft outline, and then let us kind of extrapolate from that and expand it, and then get it back to you, see what you think. What do you think? I know we might lose Artemis because this is late for you, isn't it, Artemis?
I haven't slept in 3 days. No,
Oh.
I'm listening. I love that idea. I love that idea.
Yeah.
The idea of Benji getting involved in this kind too. But I think the fact that you have developed some of this at Seeds already is the place to really look at. And really thinking about a kind of a worldwide marketing moment where you know, get the attention focused on not just your currency, but the relationships you're developing.
Yeah, this is ramping up very, very quickly. And I make a point of roaming around the Seeds Haifa world, you know, every day. And today I've been, like the last 3 days, I've been in ambassador meetings every single day. And you see the people that are coming in. I mean, Sydney's in one of the ambassador groups, and the executive director of Kinship Earth, her name is, you know her, Archer, Lauren Archer. She's in the same cohort with Sid. Anyway, I like to drop in on these places. And the energy that you pick up with the people is just nothing short of enchanting and miraculous and very uplifting and inspiring. You see the human desire to make the world a better place. Tikkun olam, as they say in Hebrew, you know, heal the world. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, I think that this could be an inspiring sort of higher end initiative that a cohort of specially selected people who have the expertise to pull this off, we could pull that together into this team. We would have our own channel. We'd have our own meetings to pull this off. And of course, the last thing that anybody here needs is one more thing to do. But this is worthwhile. This is so worthwhile.
I mean, one thought I have too is that, you know, like any part of your portfolio, you buy a few seeds on this IPO and you watch it. And then you see all the impact it's having and then you buy a little more. I see this as a very incremental way to very publicly shine a spotlight on Seeds.
Yeah, well, we have various, clearly the Seeds success path, just like a telephone. You know, you invent the telephone, what good is it? It's no good at all. It's a great invention. And then when you get one more telephone in the hands of one other person, great, that's wonderful. Now you can talk to one other person, but it's really a system device. And until we have that system device in the hands of thousands of people, you don't realize the full potential. So the faster we can accelerate the adoption of seeds, the better. We have an incremental process going on now, which is to me, the right process. So what we have in place is very, very disciplined, which is good because we'll get there. But having this other sort of approach to when we hit the right marker to throw this out into the world could vastly accelerate the adoption of the seeds currency. It can make a real difference.
So Reiki, you just put this up on the share screen here. It's kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
Can you see it, Artemis, or you asleep?
Slide
Yeah,
one,
no, I'm-
our deck pitching this.
Yeah.
For a tiny bit more clarity, just to really hone in, what I'm saying is we're setting up a separate do called Regen Food, or whatever we call it, that consists of us, whoever the core team is. I think we bring in some other core team members, and then they're owning a percentage of this do. So it's not falling under HIFA, and it's not falling under just seed as a whole. It's a separate vehicle designed for this purpose. And that way we are, providing the accurate collaboration feedback loops. I know when you're pulling in really high leverage people, they want to be able to get something out of this for themselves. Great, they're getting a percentage of this new vehicle that's been created for this purpose. So this is actually what I'm proposing, is that we create a separate organization. It could be a do that captures all of this value that people are bringing to this. And this is also what's going to be owning and holding all of the shares or anything else that we're buying out of different technologies that we're investing into. This vehicle would also be holding access or ownership of the land from the farmers that we're buying and all of that stuff. So that's what I see for this vehicle. We can get it started now as fully decentralized, and Wyoming is about to pass legislation, fingers crossed. There's other countries that are all on par to do it. So that DOs or DAOs, these decentralized organizations could have a legal representation.
Wow. Oh.
Wyoming passes it. It's in the Senate right now, and it's already passed in the House. So it's final steps, and it looks super positive. Then I think we could just set up a legal entity there, or maybe we do it in Canada. I'm not sure. I don't know if a US company can launch a SPAC in Canada, or if it has to be a Canadian company. Or if we do the SPAC in Canada, maybe we set up a separate company that just does the SPAC, and then the US company is buying into that SPAC, or some type of relationship like that. But long story short, I think we should have our own organization for this.
And so you're saying a do can then own real estate?
Yeah, that's what they're passing in Wyoming, is that a do could engage in legal contracts, own real estate, make legal contracts in the old system, et cetera, et cetera.
Buy securities,
for
for instance.
A really powerful vehicle, because if we're getting regions dues, regions are going to want to, buy up commons. They're going to want to buy up buildings together and buy up land together. And being able to have a legal representation helps them do that. So anyway, it's a really exciting transition happening, and Wyoming's kind of leading the way in the US. But I just wanted to get clarity here and your thoughts on this landing page, and see if we're all in full alignment before I dive down a rabbit hole. So I'll pause.
All right.
Kind of want to hear from you all. But we're also about 6 minutes to the hour, so maybe because I have to jump off in 6 minutes, and I'd love to hear from everyone. So maybe we could just do a round. Everyone can just drop all of your feedback, and we'll go from there. So maybe I'll pass it to Artemis. Give you the floor, since you look the most.
I'm incredibly inspired by your reaction, and I feel like this is the right home to do this within. And I also feel like if we do it right, which I'm sure we will be able to influence all the influencers around this. And I'm really excited about the idea of an IPO, principally to buy seeds. I just think that's a wonderful way to, make the next step.
By the way, for those of you that don't know, Artemis just produced a movie, To Who Dare. He just ran it a few times. And at some point, I want to put Artemis in touch with our own D Studios, but I don't know if has Artemis made 2 movies or 1 movie?
Yeah, it was a first version and then a second version. Is that right, Artemis?
That's right. Right. In total, I've made 6 movies, but those are my first 2 films.
Ah, yeah, well, they were beautiful. They were really beautiful.
Yeah.
I
that
watched
was-
it last night.
Yeah,
The one with Tom Hanks.
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Yeah, totally amazing story. Unbelievable, actually.
Yeah,
yeah.
Rick, you can check it out on Artemis's YouTube channel, Rolling with Artemis, the film screening we did the other night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a story of my grandparents who went to Europe in 1939 to help Jews and liberals escape from the Holocaust. And they knew very little about what they were doing. They just did it out of a sense of urgency. And they ended up saving 25,000 lives in those 2 years.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, very moving, especially when you had that one of the people that was saved was on the discussion afterwards.
Amelie,
Live, yeah, wow, that was cool,
that
very
was.
moving. Well, so getting back to your sign off here, I just want to thank you, Artemis, for I know this is not the best time for you to talk, but I grabbed what I could and went with it.
Well,
Anyway, I appreciate you participating today, and thanks for all your support in moving this idea forward. I think, Reiki, if you put your thoughts together and then send us a draft, we will together massage it and get something back to you, take it further down the road. Joseph is a Canadian citizen. He lives there, and we have very good access to him. He's a long time member of Artemis's group, and there's others like him around, but we'll pull together next week and we'll go over whatever you send us.
Yeah, can we set a weekly call that's good for Artemis and everyone else as well? I'm happy to do more into our evenings. And then let's just keep that rhythm and we'll just have a weekly call. I'll get this done through the weekend and I'll have something by Monday at the very latest. I might have something sooner. I already have the whole thing formed. And then the next call, we've talked about several other people that might be great for this. I think it'd be awesome to bring them in and then go over the deck with them. So if the next call is next Thursday, I'll have it by Monday. We can get feedback, co-create it. And then by Thursday, we present it to the rest of the team. We start the team, everyone picks up roles, and we kind of keep this rhythm and pace going. Because again, I'm excited to do this. I don't want it to just stay an idea. I want us to get shit done. And I'm at the point in my life where I'm all about getting shit done. So I'm kind of, pull me back if I'm putting too much energy and momentum here. If you're feeling dragged, well, then feel dragged. Anyway, that's my close.
Well, great. I want to just find out if Sid and Mark are on board, because I know you guys are so busy already. Are you on board with this?
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, how can
Yeah.
a farmer say no? I don't know how a farmer can say no to this. Great.
And I can
Okay.
definitely coordinate with some of the other players to try to get us all together on a meeting that works for everyone.
Well, I'm thinking this time on Raiki's calendar, so there's a 12-hour from East Coast to Bali is exactly 12 hours. So whatever time it is, like tonight, started at 9 o'clock, that's 9 a.m. the next day in Bali. So that's how it works. What about 8 o'clock your time? Is it 8 o'clock? So 8 p.m. next Thursday, 8 p.m. East Coast time, 8 o'clock in the
Today's
morning.
Wednesday.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Thursday.
Okay. So
Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that.
Wednesday, my Thursday.
What works better for people? Wednesday night or Thursday night? And what works better for you, Reiki? Thursday morning or Friday morning?
Thursday morning is better for me.
Okay. Well, I could do either. I can actually do either.
all right.
Okay, Wednesday night then. Great. I'll send out. Well, should I get on your calendar again, Reiki, or should we set out a special Zoom?
I just did it right now and you all have been invited. So
Okay,
and use
great,
that same link and invite everyone else to it.
great, great. Okay, then we're set.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stephen, for making this happen.
Thank you, everybody. Pleasure. Pleasure.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Good night.
Here's everyone.